You know what? I hate doing videos like this about subjects like this, but I feel that if these subjects aren't touched on or things like this aren't expressed, I feel like no one will get the help that they need in order to move past situations like this. As we we all know the brother Kyren Lacy um, committed suicide on himself a day ago, and I want to take this time out to speak to men. Now, apparently, the young brother Lacy was facing some kind of um, charge for a hit and run, and apparently the collision, it was a 78-year-old passenger that got killed, and he fled the scene. And apparently, he was being charged with negligent homicide and felony with hit and run with death and reckless operation of a vehicle. And I want to take this time out to go through the path that this young man took to get to this point. For me personally, I've known athletes that have played at the D1 level. Um, I've known of athletes, I've been around athletes that have played at the D1 level, and even some that played in the NFL. But I can understand going through something and working hard for something your entire life, because I feel personally when you get to that level to where you're playing at a LSU or you're playing at a University of Florida or University of Georgia, especially like for football, I feel like you were a person that dedicated your entire life up to that point to that craft. And in a couple of weeks was the NFL draft, and he was slated to go in the first round. And with that incident, I feel like that hit and run homicide that he was facing, he probably felt like his life was completely over. And he didn't want to face the harsh realities that he probably was going to have to deal with. And I can only pretty much assume, because like I'm not in his shoes, but I've been in that situation before to where the only option, the only way that you see out is to take yourself out. Um, I had a good friend of mine in the military. he was somebody that did the same thing. And with those things, you always see signs, apparently. Sometimes you don't know that they're signs, but you see signs. And apparently today, um, April the 14th, as I'm recording this video, he was actually supposed to go to court today for to to face like the situation head on from the incident in December. And I can understand the young man and what he was feeling about not wanting to face that type of reality. And I want to take this time out to tell men that it's it's okay, man. You know, you can't let one bad decision define everything in your entire life. Now, I understand that in his situation, it ended up taking somebody's life. And you never want to do things like that. But for the most part, you can overcome certain situations. You can overcome certain circumstances. Just because this one mistake did have that ending doesn't mean that it's necessarily the end for you and your life. And for the young brother just to be 25 or 24 years old is devastating because I just feel like, he was somebody that had so much more life to live, regardless of the situation at hand. And he let the demons get the best of him. Now, I'm not absolving him of anything of what he did, but I just feel like situations like that isn't the end all be all. And you can come out victorious if you stay the course. And it's just like for me, I've been through that situation to where I was hell bent on doing what I wanted to do and taking myself up out of here. But thankfully, I had people around me that cared. And looking back on my life now, years later, I'm grateful and I'm happy that I stayed the course. And that's mainly what it's all about, is staying the course. And I want this to be a lesson to black men and to men, period. If you're really struggling with your mental health, it's okay to ask for help, man. It doesn't make you weak. It makes you smart. Because when we're down and out in these situations, we can't get ourselves out of it, bro. And I just wish that this young man would have stayed the course and fought just a little bit harder to stay here. Because people don't understand this and always look at it for what it's worth for the most part. But when you do stuff like this, you cheat everybody else around you. And what I mean by that is your parents had to bury their child. Your friends, LSU Nation, the NFL draft, many other people that are tied to this young brother, the fan base at LSU, many people that are tied to this brother, their lives are affected now because of one decision, one impulse decision that I assume that he made. And at the end of the day, life is only what you make it, but staying the course makes life worth it. And I wish that this young brother would have seen that in himself and stayed and fought just a little bit longer.